this episode of Pugliese Speed Shop, we're going to figure out what the kid just had to push me down the hill to get this thing back in the shop. Alright guys, we got the Jeep back in the shop. Now I know I said I like working on this thing, but it's a little ridiculous. You know, I meant like improvements and stuff, but either way, last Jeep video you guys saw, it was running drive great, went around the neighborhood, everything was good to go. And that remained the case for about a week or so. I would take it out after work. I didn't drive it anywhere I had to be because, let's be honest with each other, this thing was sitting, you know, it's a 30-year-old Jeep, and it's been sitting for 2+ years, so you don't know what you don't know. You know, we already talked about that. So, I had it out last Sunday night, and everything was fine. Went and grabbed some parts, stopped for some food afterwards at a drive-thru. Sitting there, I noticed the RPMs were low. Between 4 and 450, it was like mad low. So I'm like, okay. Not that I'll go home and raise the idle, I guess. I never should have had to, but I'm like, I didn't really think anything of it. So I get home, it's running fine when I'm driving. Just what I do when I stop at a stoplight or anything like that, it was low. And it was strained even when I moved the steering wheel a little bit, right? So I was like, okay, something's not right. I get home, stop at the house because, like I said, I had food. We eat. I come outside, and I'm gonna bring it back down here. I was working on that S10, so it just cranks. Get in it, crank. It won't start. So I'm 99% sure it's not getting fuel. And I started thinking, well, it's been sitting for a while. There wasn't much fuel left in the tank, and that was done intentionally. But today's fuel. You know, it's corrosive. It eats everything up, rubber lines, all that kind of stuff. So who knows what it could have done to the sending unit, the pump, whatever. Sitting for that long. So before I just go throwing a fuel pump at it, especially because it's in the tank. Now this one is easier than a lot of these pickups and other things where it's on the top of the tank. It's in the front. So if you have less than half tank gas, you can probably do it without getting wet. But we learned our lesson on the caddy with throwing parts at things. So let me troubleshoot it, and figure I'll show you guys how. All right, so I'm gonna crank it for you. You can see how what it's doing. That's it, just cranking, right? So the first thing we're gonna do, give it a little fuel, a little breath of life. Shoot down the old throttle body here. Way more than enough. See what it does. I expected that to make it start. So I'm gonna check for spark. All right, so spark, right? Check for spark. Found something disconnected. I think we're gonna get it. So listen right now, right? Click, little hum, wasn't there before. shut it down because I have the door closed and, you know, bad things happen when you do that too long. But obviously spark was a problem. So I'm going to take you off the tripod and show you what the problem was and where we would have kept going if it wasn't spark. See what's up. All right, guys, so let's say it was fuel. All right, disregard the battery charger. I don't want the battery to run too low. I was cranking on it for a while. Let's say we're troubleshooting fuel. So the first thing I did, as you saw, dumped a little fuel down there. It should have fired right up. If it wasn't getting fuel, I ensured it was getting fuel by putting it right in there. It should have fired up. When that didn't happen, I said, okay, it's not fuel. Let's go to something else. But there's a lot of questions on these Renix Jeeps and troubleshooting fuel delivery. So there's a lot of questions, not a whole lot of answers. So I'm going to help you out. Let's say that fired up when I did that. Okay, then it's fuel delivery. Let's look into it. The Renix ones have this ballast resistor here. Some misconceptions about the ballast resistor. The thing is, it just steps down voltage when the Jeep is running. At startup, it's given a full 12 volts to the fuel pump. After it started, it cuts it back down to 10. It's just not to pump as much gas and save a little bit of fuel. Remember, this is it's an 89. Renix Jeeps came out, I think, 87 to 91. So it's a very early type of electronic fuel injection. So those are basic things, ballast resistors, old school type stuff, mixed with some new stuff, right, to make this whole system work. So to bypass this and make sure this is not your problem, pull these two wires, run a jumper between them, and that takes this ballast resistor out of it. Gives you a full 12 volts at all times. So this was not going to be my problem. If you start your Jeep and it fires right up and then dies right away, that's your guy. If it's not starting at all, probably not your guy. You can jump it just to take it out of the equation, but probably not it. A lot of times you'll see them crack through here or something like from vibrations, and that's how you know they're going bad or they've gone bad. So after that, you come over here. There's a cover that goes, a little plastic cover. You take 2 screws off, boom. Here's your relays. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's all sorts of arguments on the forums. It's the second from the front. No, it's the third from the front. How you take that out of the equation? You swap these two. They're the same. So rather than spending $20 to go buy new ones to troubleshoot, just swap them. What's the chances both of these are bad? Slim to none, right? So you swap them, it still doesn't start. Okay, not the relay, not the ballast resistor. You go back to the pump, put a meter on the wires, turn the key. You should get 12 volts. If you're not, there's a wire problem from somewhere in here. And you got to read that out. If you are, it's the pump. Change the pump. I think it's $70. Like I said, it's on the front of the tank rather than the top. So if you have less than like a half tank of gas, pull it out, put the new one in, knock it out real easy. It's like a half-hour job. In fact, there is a video here where a guy does it in a parking lot, so I'll link it in the description. This way you guys can take a look at that and see actually how you get done, because since I'm not doing it. For me, it was 100% my fault. You know, when you take, you saw I had everything out from underneath this thing. So when you pull all this kind of stuff out, sometimes you miss something. That's why in aviation maintenance, we got a guy behind us called a collateral duty inspector. He'll go behind you and check all your crap to make sure you didn't miss it. And I probably could have used one of those, because the simplest thing, a ground. That's all it was. So, can you see? How do I figure this here? So the negative battery cable is, this is hard to find. I'll get you in there. There you go. See this? Right here. See that shadow? That's the negative battery cable. There's a stud that comes out of the block, and It holds a dipstick tube in, and it also is where the negative battery cable goes on. On this one, earlier ones, there's 2 studs there. This one only has 1. And the negative battery cable and all your other stuff for the CPU, EDU, all the electronic crap that runs your fuel injection runs in there. So there's 2. That's a better shot of it. So you can see where the battery cable comes up from right here, and then there's another wire that comes this way. That wire was wedged behind the dipstick tube, so it was getting a ground. That's why it ran before, and the more I drove it, it would shimmy around in there, and it finally came loose and popped out of there. I was still kind of wedged, but not enough to get a ground. So I connected that, it fired right up. So 100% my fault, completely avoidable had I noticed that thing was not connected, but I didn't notice until now. Now it's good to go. Right, guys, this is unfortunately a mistake that anybody can make. 1 wire. You saw how many times I looked over this thing. 1 wire, it's black, it's a little grease on the motor. It was hidden. I couldn't see the connector because it was wedged in there behind that dipstick tube. So when I look now, I saw just the edge of the connector, and I was like, "What is that?" And I pulled it out of there. It was stuck in there pretty good, and there it was. That was my problem. Obviously, it went to that stud, cleaned it up, disconnected the nut off, put that wire on, and it fired up like it's brand new. You guys heard it. What should have been part of I should have caught this. You guys heard when I started, I turned the key, and you heard bzzz, and you could hear the buzz. You heard some clicking. The second time, not as much buzzing because the fuel pump was already primed, so it wasn't as much the second time I started. I didn't hear that buzz. That's why I'm thinking fuel pump. I'm like, oh, it's not getting. But before you go throwing parts and stuff, see that? That was a free fix. It took about, 5 minutes? Whereas fuel pump, $70 or whatever, and I'd be under the thing for a half an hour and smell like fuel. So do your homework, do your research, double check your stuff. 18-inch rule, right? Look around everything you guys touch, because that right there, had I not done that, I'd have been chasing this thing just like I did on that Cadillac. And nobody wants to do that. So, dark out right now. It's cold out. So, I'm going to go up to the house. I'm going to get something to eat. And then tomorrow, we're going to take this guy out for the ride. And I'm going to take you with me. So, because I need to show you guys. This thing runs good. I got to show you. So, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, so here we are in the Jeep, using the GoPro for the first time. I want to give a big thanks and a shout out to my buddy Rudy. He hooked me up with that GoPro, so I appreciate it. I'm going to put it to some use. So here we go, take a little ride in the Jeep. Buckle up for safety. Go. Alright, so I feel I'll take you guys on my normal little test drive route that I use. Make sure that the things are running good after I put a little work in on them. All right. So I'll tell you what, I cannot stop thinking about how I missed that 1 wire. Usually I don't miss that kind of stuff, but I keep thinking, was it like that? And I just put it back the way it was, or was it that I just pulled off and I mean, I must have pulled it off and not put it back on, but you know, what are you gonna do? Not much you can do. So here's my little neighborhood here. See a bunch of remnants of snow. We like I said, we had a couple inches, and then I said I was going to take you for a ride tomorrow. That was actually 2 days ago, because yesterday we had an ice storm, so I didn't do nothing until later. Which I actually went out and got a smoking deal on a set of wheels and tires, brand new tires on these rims. You know, so you can't pass that up. You got to put up a little bit of ice to go get them. We're speeding. So the speed limit sign there at 50. We're doing 55, the old double nickel. I say ride. I mean, it rides like a Jeep, you know, just like an old XJ would, with some worn out suspension. So I don't know if any of you guys realized it when I was working on them back brakes, but those leaf springs have 0 arch to them, and you can feel it in the ass end of this thing as you drive it. It's not ideal, but so I foresee a lift in the future. I mean, of course, you're going to do springs and you're going to do shocks and what have you. So should go ahead and deal with that. I've driven a lot worse suspension than this thing. I'll tell you that right now. I'm sure most of you guys have. So yeah, well, what's your deal with that? There's something you guys might not see every day, huh? We're not filming a movie or nothing like that. I live out here in southern Maryland, which is out Amish. So I live right, actually, kind of not even in the outskirts, like right in the heart of Amish country. So it's Sunday, so they're all out coming back from church and whatnot. As we are creeping up here to the best chicken you're gonna find. It's even like, I mean, obviously I come from New York, but when I talk about this chicken, I get a little southern accent because mod on and stuff, I'll tell you what. But so that's where we're at right now. And we're pulling in here. See the old brew through, man. You gotta love the brew through. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Pugliese Speed Shop. I'm going to go in here and get some chicken, like I just said. But appreciate you guys watching, appreciate your support. Rudy, thanks again for the GoPro. It's going to be a game changer when we get that FXR back out. So you guys make sure you like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, tell a friend, let's spread the word. Share, 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 alright? So, till next time, thanks for watching, guys.